So crazy, man. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be talking about a couple different things, but first I want to show you guys, I kind of went through the process of unboxing my brand new Canon 1DX Mark III, and that was going really good up until the point where I found out this camera doesn't have 24 frames per second and 1080p. All right, cool. Yo, we got the 1DX Mark III in. My boy Joe Moore's with me today helping me film some of this, so give him a follow, link down below. Yo, we're opening this up. Let's see what the hell is popping in here. I'm so excited. Yesterday it said that it delivered early in the morning, and I went to go for it and it didn't, and I got super annoyed. It wasn't there, but it delivered around 4:30 when I was shooting a music video. So first off, it's got the CF Express card reader. I already knew that. You probably knew that too. Comes with a 64 gigabyte card, and boom. Here it is in the black box, the Mark III. Just like the 1DX Mark II came. Let's open it up. Oh yeah, also I got a 128 gigabyte card as well to go with my 64. Probably, I'll be getting another one probably as well. Instruction manuals, who needs that? I don't care if anybody thinks that I'm opening this weirdly. What do you think this is? Probably the body, huh? Of course it is. Got the freaking 1DX Mark III, I'm so excited. Oh, what do you know? It looks just like a 1DX Mark II, it just has a 3 here. Oh yeah, it's got that cool little autofocus thing too. I'm excited to see that light up. I'm excited, man. Classic neck strap, the eye cuff, same style battery, same style charger it looks like as well, and the cord to connect it to the computer, and that's it. What do you know, the unboxing was just like a Mark II. Let's throw the battery in here, see if they give you any power. I might need a lens on here, huh? Let me take Joe's lens, 24-70. Whoa, it feels just like a 1DX Mark II. Whoa, that autofocus was fast as hell. Off the rip, the autofocus is fast. I haven't even done any settings to it yet. Put this thing at 5.5K off the rip. Oh, touchscreen now, baby, no more games. Where's 5.5 million K? Oh my God, there's so many different. I mean, tedious trying to go through these when you're like out shooting. 120 frames per second. Oh yeah, the 120s are still icy. Yeah, you can do 60 frames raw, that's crazy. 60 frames, 30 frames, 24 frames, and 23.98 frames in raw. 4 minutes, you get 4 minutes on a 64 gig. I'm gonna have to get a bunch more cards. Wait, where's, no way, bro. They don't have 24 frames per second in full HD?
No, down, look. Go down one.
29.
There's no way. They're gonna make you film it in 4K?
What is going on right now?
All right, I'm about to stop.
All right, cool, we're back. That was fun unboxing the camera. Everything is kind of similar to the 1DX Mark II, and I was totally eager and excited to start shooting with the camera up until the point where I didn't see 24 frames per second in 1080p, and I was completely thrown off. But we were like, look, let's stop the freaking unboxing. Let's look into this. So after looking on YouTube, I saw no videos. Nobody's even covered it. I can't believe it. There's been a lot of people that had the Mark III in their hands and looked at it, and they haven't said anything about it. I'm not sure if this was like planned. I'm really not sure, but Canon, what's going on? I feel like when we left from 720p in that era where 720p was dying out, it was talked about. If we're leaving out of 1080p because we have tons of different 4K modes, why has this not been talked about yet? The craziest thing is this camera is like an all-in-one package with every possible thing that you could ask for in a camera. It even has some of the best high frame rate modes and 120 frames per second in 1080p. Sharp, crispy, amazing, fluid, butter, some of the best freaking slow-mo out there inside of this camera in 1080p. They even included 60 frames per second in 1080p and 30 frames per second in 1080p, but no 24 frames per second in 1080p. Now I'm sure I'm gonna have a couple people down in the comments like, who uses 1080p anymore? Who needs that? Who, like, what do you use that for? I honestly use 1080p for a lot of different things. 4K is awesome, don't get me wrong, but a very large amount of creators out there don't have processors even big enough to handle 4K on their computers right now. And I just kind of find it crazy because I use 1080 so frequently. I don't use 4K as much as I use 1080p, as weird as that sounds. The first reason being is because it's smaller files. The second reason, it doesn't tear my processor apart. I can actually work with it good and smooth in Adobe Premiere Pro. All the vlogs and YouTube videos and just promo videos that I do for companies and brands, I often do them just in 1080p just because it's so convenient. I do 1080p 120 frames per second because that's so butter in a 1DX Mark II, and also also in this camera. And then it's also the dimensions. I mean, the 4K on this camera and the 1DX Mark II are like 4096 by 2160. And the typical 4K that I actually use is 3840 by 2160. It's in a different shape, a different dimension. So when I actually load it in and try to put it into a 1080p timeline, which is usually what I use to edit vlogs or YouTube videos or so forth, there's an empty black space on the bottom and on the top, which that forces me to crop it in and scale it up to fit that 1920 by 1080 timeline, which is just weird for me. It's a different workflow for me. I'm not used to it, and it just bothers me that there's not 1080p and 24 frames per second. It just kind of makes no sense. 120 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 30 frames per second in 1080p, but no 24 frames per second. This was also seen in the Canon 90D, which they actually updated the firmware on the 90D, and now they have the 24 frames per second on there, which I'm praying that you guys can do for this 1DX Mark III. Maybe I'm tripping, maybe I'm like totally blind and everybody's just using 4K and nobody uses 1080p anymore at 24 frames per second, but I highly doubt that. I mean, I could go in 4K IPB and dumb down the quality a little bit to get more time in shooting. Now I feel like I'm forced to buy bigger memory cards, spend more money, and I've already spent a ton of money on this camera upgrading from the 1DX Mark II. I'm kind of sad actually that I sold my 1DX Mark II so fast and didn't wait until after I got this and actually got my hands on it, because on paper, I don't think I even noticed that it didn't have 24 frames per second 1080p. I was just like not expecting that. The 1DX Mark III has 4K Ultra HD. It also has regular 4K cropped mode. It also has regular 4K uncropped mode, and it has the 5.5K RAW. I mean, there's tons of different shooting modes from frame rates to dimensions on this camera. Why leave out one that's been such a staple over the past years? I don't know. I'm gonna stop ranting about it. That's a huge dislike for me on this camera. And there's only one other dislike that I have. I'm surprised that a photography camera doesn't have photo time lapses. I was almost sure that this camera was gonna have photo time lapses like all the other cameras out there, just for, you know, just making those cool time lapses in videos and projects, whatever. Just being able to have that feature in your camera in 2020, I just feel like it's almost like duh. But that sums it up for the dislikes on this camera. That's it. Other than the fact that I wish it had a swivel screen, I'm not really tripping about that because the autofocus on this baby is insane. It's got the eye tracking, the face tracking, and I mean that shit is lightning fast. Do we want to talk about the things that I like about this camera? There's like a million things. I mean, the quality of this camera, everything that's coming out of it, freaking amazing off the rip. It's got 5.5K raw footage. The fact that it has 4K uncropped and cropped is just super convenient. Maybe you're going for a cropped look and you want it to be closer in, or maybe you want to have that full frame look and you want to have it in 60 frames per second and 24 frames per second, so you can get B-roll and slow motion and you can get real time in the same mode, cropped, uncropped. That's freaking awesome. It has C-Log in it with the assist, so you can see how it would look with contrast. Super convenient and just amazing for when it's time to color grade. So let me tell you about the best feature on this camera. It is touchscreen. So now you can scrub through your actual clips. You don't have to wait for an 120 frame per second clip to go so slow all the way down, and then you gotta hold the button fast forward and it takes like 10 seconds for it to even start going anywhere. No more of that. You can actually just put your finger on it now and drag it back and forth to the section that you want to view now, and I think that is the best freaking upgrade about this camera from the 1DX Mark II. My favorite, hands down. I don't know, I just love that. So if you're not trying to use autofocus and you want to use manual focus, which I usually do if I'm shooting like music videos, you now can do that with the focus peaking. You can see where your focus is hitting on the camera, so you don't have to guess and try to like look really close and then end up shaking your camera because you're getting so close to the camera. It has peaking. I think that is a great feature. I also noticed when I was transferring some of the footage that I shot with this camera today onto my SSD on the computer, the CF Express transfer speeds are crazy. I mean, it dropped like 20 gigabytes in like, it was like, I don't know, maybe like 3 seconds, 5 seconds. It went so fast. I also love the fact that all the buttons are kind of in the same place, and I've kind of memorized those from the 1DX Mark II, and that's just kind of working out in my favor. And I think that the movie digital in-body stabilization is pretty cool too. I mean, it's not actual in-body, it's electronic, but if for some reason one day you have shaky hands on set and you just need to use that, it works really good. Just being able to have a little bit of help and assist on, you know, in-body body stabilization is freaking awesome. I'm sure I missed something else, but there's just a ton of things that I love about this camera. But even though it's only 2 things that I dislike about this camera, not having 24 frames per second in 1080p is absolute trash to me. Like I said, I shoot all my vlogs in 1080p. I shoot all my YouTube videos in 1080p. Right now we're shooting in 1080p, all eye, 24 frames per second on the 1DX Mark II. That's what is filming me right now. I'm using the 1DX Mark II here, and I got the 1DX3 here. 1DX2, this isn't my 1DX Mark III, it's my boy Joe's, but I had to use it. I didn't even want to film this video using the 1DX Mark III. I wanted to have it in my hand for sure, but I didn't want to film it in 4K 24 frames per second and have it, the black lines on the top and bottom, and punch it in, because over here on this side of the screen and over here on this side of the screen, if I had to scale that 4K in to get rid of those black bars, it would have cut off my board over there and it would have cut off my neon light, which I really like. This area is set up for 24 frames per second, full frame 1080p, and it's gonna mess with my whole workflow. It's just gonna mess with my setup, my workflow, everything. It's mind-boggling to me. But I don't know, who knows? Maybe I'm tripping. I think that 1080p and 24 frames per second is definitely necessary to have on this camera, especially having 25 other shooting modes on this camera. You added so many freaking shooting modes into this camera, but you left out the main one that's been used over the past, what, decade? Was this like a 2020 joke or what? I mean, like, I just need 1080p in 24 frames per second. That's what I need. Just do it for me, Canon, please. If you think I'm tripping and you think we don't need 1080p, let me know down below in the comments. If you think that we do need it because, you know, your processor can't handle all 4K and 5.5K RAW, and I don't even think you could put 5.5K RAW into Adobe Premiere Pro yet. So it's like, dang, can I continue to have 1080p 24 frames per second? If you enjoyed this video, man, slap the like button, drop me a comment, let me know if you think we need 1080p 24 or if you think we don't. I mean, I don't know, let's have a dialogue. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I'll definitely be uploading more stuff with the 1DX Mark III if you're interested in seeing. And yeah, hit the bell for notifications so you know when these videos come out, or any of my videos. I mean, I do more than just 1DX Mark III stuff, vlogs, music videos, behind the scenes, all types of cool content, man. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.